A ballerina's perspective, from performing with New York City Ballet and Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater to publishing poetry books and mentoring kids and teens. Join us in a weekly discussion with experts to gain mental health clarity and achieve growth in moral consciousness. Give our show a 5 stars, comment, share, and come along for the ride. Welcome back to another episode of the Growth, Grace, and Gratitude podcast. Today, we are welcomed with a very special guest. Kelly brings clinical experience as a trauma nurse and the lived truth of a bereaved mother. She created timely presence to answer a pain point she experienced firsthand. Real grief support fades just when it's needed most. So, wow, what a really deep healing topic that you are taking us on the journey. And I feel like so many people experience this. The whole purpose of the spiritual podcast that I started was like going through grief of kind of like losing a version of yourself. Every time we grow and we heal, yes, we lose people, we lose representations of ourselves as well. We have to grieve parts of our own consciousness or our own unconsciousness. So this topic and the journey you went through is, it's so traumatizing and so in a way healing, because it brings people together to really focus on how to be present and how to kind of go through the journey. So thank you so much for coming on the podcast, Kelly.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to share with your audience and really just talk about this experience, which really is universal.
Yes, exactly. So recognizing pain points are so important as part of the grieving process. How did you kind of first understand that, and how did you get not used to, but how did you kind of allow your body to go there when there's so much avoidance normally, and obviously logically we want to avoid pain, we want to avoid returning to the place of pain. So yes, please share about your journey and recognizing pain points and why that's important in the healing
Yeah.
process.
So I think, the fortunate part of my grief story is that it's impossible to ignore the fact that you've lost a child, right? So it's just an impossible constant reality. I have to tell you, the day that I realized, because here's the bottom line, the loss is constant, right? My son is no longer here. But the day that I realized that there would be lots of vacillations in that was as we approached, my son died January 3rd, as we approached Mother's Day. I realized that I'm really carrying this forever. And there are days that are going to be much tougher than I had anticipated. And so prior to the loss, I never thought about the fact that Mother's Day is full of triggers, commercials. There's banners everywhere. There's flower sales, and Mother's Day is full of triggers. And as we got closer, I began to feel more anxious, more stress around that day. How do you reconcile a day that's meant to celebrate being a mother when 1/3 of my heart is no longer with us? And so I really prepared to do nothing that weekend. I'm going to do nothing. That sounds amazing. Let's do nothing. Um, but I have an incredible network. And so my mom and sister and niece decided to fly down to Florida from Ohio and sit with me. And my daughter, who also lives here in Florida, came over, and my son's girlfriend, and their presence made all the difference for me in this really, really tense time of anxiety and unknown. And I realized then that this is going to be ongoing. There are going to be days, moments remembrance of him, his birthday. He happened to be born on Christmas. So the whole holiday season, everyone's celebrating. How do I fit into that? Um, but I realized that in May, but I also realized that if I had people around me who were willing to share in my pain while celebrate the life, the love, and the event, right? My mom's a mother. I'm thankful for her. My sister's a mother. I'm thankful for them. If we could do both at the same time, that it would make the load lighter for me. And that was the moment that I realized this pain is going to go on forever. These triggers will come and go and come and go. People and support and presence make all the difference in the journey.
So much pain and grief. Thank you so much for sharing that raw vulnerability. It's so touching and it's so true. You touched on such an important point about family and community and how the soul just yearns to be understood. I think so many people who are empaths in this community who are listening to the podcast and who are just really trying to find their own community, I think you totally got it right. The art of presence, it's so delicate because it's just in a way allowing, but being there. And so many people do avoid that because it's also, they have to look at themselves or they have to accept part of themselves that they're also afraid to look at. So it is so true. And talk a little bit about timely presence and what you love most about it and what kind of it's like, how it helps you through the process of grieving and how it can help people as well.
Yeah. So my sister always tells me this. I have no recall. I was in so much personal distress at the time. But she shares just a couple of weeks after Darius died that I said to her, I am going to find pain in this purpose. I am going to make room for pain in this purpose. And so, I what does that mean? And it means different things for different people, right? I've had a dear friend from college who lost her son. She and her husband set up a foundation in his honor. I met a woman here in Orlando who lost her son. She sends Mother's Day cards out to all bereaved mothers on Mother's Day. Just one healing heart to another. But that Mother's Day experience for me was a moment of clarity. And so I decided to do my best to recreate that moment for broken hearts all over. And so what we do with timely presence, the name describes the action. Our goal is to show up in those vulnerable moments, birthdays, wedding anniversaries, Mother's Day, Father's Day, when research says people will predictably have intense pain, intense grief, um, with reminders from people who love and care about you that just say, I'm thinking of you. I know today's different. You're not alone. And building that and watching the reaction from people who receive it is the most healing thing that I can do on this journey. Uh, the first person who ever received a gift from Timely Presence was a woman who lost her daughter at 48 hours. So her baby lived 48 hours. And when we launched, her boss, her employer, remembered that the year before, her team member had suffered this significant loss. And so she purchased Timely Presence. And this woman says that it was the darkest day because no one remembers a baby they never met, right? No one remembers this baby. So dark day for her. And she walked out to her mailbox and she had a package with a dove on it. And she thought, what is this? She goes back in the house, opens it, and it's a crystal sun catcher that puts a prism all over her kitchen wall. And she says, on the darkest day, I had rainbows dancing all day. And her quote was, God was in the details that day. When you hear something like that, it it soothes your soul, right? My goal, I know the gravity of grief. I know the significance of loss and pain. To be able to meet people in those most vulnerable, fragile moments with something that can relieve suffering, that is a part of my own personal healing. And so timely presence has been a way for me to heal others while healing myself. And I believe it's divine.
So beautiful. I think you're doing such amazing work, and everything you're describing, it's like it seems like it's channeled, it's completely channeled, because so much of my work going through spirituality and healing sessions with my clients who work on trauma, grief, inner child healing, I do sessions where I channel things. So it's like I'm open and I'm just like writing things that hopefully help them in the moment. And it's so beautiful. And you're right, it's so healing because everybody has their own specific healing journey, their specific points of triggers and traumas and experiences. And if you can navigate that and align it to each person, this specific, like you mentioned, those words and those shapes and those experiences, it's unbelievable how it just does so much offer meaningful support as part of the healing journey. And interestingly enough, today is actually National Renewal Day. So that is so beautiful, also a reminder that no matter what we're going through, there is a space dedicated to allow the soul to renew, even if you're going through hard stuff, even if there is triggers and things happening. It's like making that a priority, and sometimes it does take so much work, and sometimes it does take a community to kind of like help you and be there for you. But what a beautiful reminder also to kind of like help you support yourself through the journey of grieving and healing.
It is so wonderful to hear that today's National Renewal Day. So I did not know that. And it's interesting. I made a post today because I spent the weekend in a place that really just poured into my soul. I was with a group of women. It was such an empowering weekend, and I left there feeling just fresh energy, renewed, refreshed. And um, in the setting, I had a number of people who were grieving who came to talk to me about what we do. And, my message to them was kind of that loss does shape you, it reshapes you. It does not limit you, however, it doesn't have to limit you. We can find purpose in pain, we can reroute hurt, we can redirect our destiny. And so to just hearing that today's National Renewal Day, that just made me feel pretty warm inside. So thank you for sharing that. Renewal is such an important term. I love it.
Yes, 100%. It's such an important term also to remind yourself. It's so good to give yourself affirmations, which it's super important for the inner child to heal with affirmations when you don't feel like you're in a good mood, but at least you can say something kind to yourself. I think it's a really great thing as well. And since this episode is going to be posted kind of to prepare for Mother's Day and to help people navigate that, what are any tips you can give people who do have this grief that is currently happening during like this really big holiday?
So, for people who are grieving the loss of their mother, I think what I would say is remember, right? And to the people that love them, speak. Memories are a way of reflecting life. People are always say they're afraid. I don't want to cause them to remember. I don't want to trigger anything. And I have to tell you, the death of my son is the one thing I can't forget, right? So come with memories, come with honor, come with legacy. That builds resilience. It builds light. Remembrance is a healer. And so I would say that for those mourning the loss of a child, I know the pain. I know that pain. And for me, I am able to reflect on, I was blessed enough to have 28 years with my son. I know there are people who have 28 hours. I know there are people who have 28 minutes. I know there are people who have 50 years. Um, what I do is I've created new rituals to help me navigate through these days. And so I'm blessed enough to have two other children. And so I celebrate them. I celebrate them and my relationship that I have with them. But I am still Darius's mother. That does not leave me. And so we have wind chimes at home, and it's my favorite kind of tribute to him because it's interactive. And so it talks to me and I talk to it. And that's how I connect to him. But whatever your ritual is, whether that is reflecting on photos, looking through old cards, watching old videos, going through social media, whatever it is that makes you feel connected to that, you are a mother still. Sit in that. That is a gift. Everyone's not given that opportunity. And for however fleeting it was, honor the fact that the life lived at all and love that. And recognize that the cost of love is sometimes realizing loss. And they come together. It's not our favorite pairing, but the reality is it's true. And I have great loss because I've had great love, and so I choose to reflect on the love that day, and I encourage other people to do that. The loss will be there tomorrow. The love is here today.
So beautiful, so poetic. Your words are just so healing and straight to the point. It's so true. It's such an actionable way to deal with the process. And I thank you so much for bringing this focus of presence back into meaningfulness, because I think so many people have lost that, whether they are afraid of healing or afraid of meeting somebody because they're afraid of their own shadow self, of their own triggers, which everybody has that. Everybody has their own fears. But yes, to truly stand in the moment and honor and bring those memories to life, it's super healing. It's like multidimensional. We talk a lot about on the podcast, like spirituality is multidimensional. And when you're healing part of yourself, you're healing another part of yourself you may not even see right now, but it's all integrating, it's all merging. And sometimes the hardest work is dealing with grief with love, which is super traumatizing in the beginning. And as you start to sit with it and you start to build community around it, you see how the presence is actually a beautiful part of the process. And I think once we can kind of shift into gratitude, which is also hard, but once that happens, the reality becomes a little less painful and a little more filled with self-love, because oftentimes we guilt ourselves or we put so much blame on ourselves, and it's hard to fully be present then, and it's hard to heal. So yeah, it's you're doing such beautiful work and such inspired work. Yes, for sure.
You do. The work of managing souls and pain and loss. It's intense, but so rewarding, right?
Yes,
So rewarding.
yes. It's so true, yes. If you're ready to shake off that daily stress, come join us for online beginner, adult, ballet, and yoga classes each week to connect with the flow of movement and the art of ballet into perfect synergy. Come as you are and learn to love your body a little bit more and gain strength and flexibility with each class. All are welcome. Sign up at balletartsmovement@gmail.com. First class free. And where can people learn more about Timely Presence and connect with you on your social media?
So you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm Kelly Edmondson, Edmondson. I do a lot of thought leadership there just around grief and managing through the painful process of pushing forward. We are on the socials at The Timely Presence on Instagram and Timely Presence on Facebook. We are active, lots of education, lots of reaffirming, lots of teaching you how to show up for yourself, teaching others how to show up for you. Presence matters. Absence hurts more than people think, and so we do a lot of informing about what that means and looks like. And then our website is timelypresence.com.
Yes, thank you so much, Kelly, for bringing this really powerful perspective towards authentic healing and sustained support. I'm sure everybody who listens to this episode will really try to break free from their own avoidance patterns and choose presence, because through that, healing is, it's almost like impossible not to heal, because your presence allows you the space to truly merge into healing. Thank you so much for bringing your wisdom, your story, your inspiration, and your truly spiritual soul, which is so lovely, so warm, and so kind.
Thank you for the work you do. It matters.
Thank you so much.